Good day, one and all. My name is Donato, and welcome to my latest video, which is a part of the 50 Coffee Commonwealth Challenge, or is it the 50 Commonwealth Coffee Challenge? For those of you who've seen a number of these, this is now number 4 of my 50 coffee challenges. And I'll say our guest or whatever. Obviously, some of the chats and whatever, this doesn't have to be recorded. You too can join in as well from whatever Commonwealth country you may be from or associated with or you'd like to talk about. So there's about 54, 55 Commonwealth countries in the world. And so far, I've spoken to someone from Australia, from Scotland, England, and today we have none other than Noel from Canada. Welcome, Noel.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it's good evening, good afternoon here in the UK or Worcester in England. You are in Winnipeg, Canada. Oh, I tell you, I'm so excited that you're here. And thank you so much for giving your time. Obviously, there's a bit of a time difference. Well, a big time difference between us. You say good morning. I say good afternoon, early evening here. But it's fantastic to finally have a Canadian here. You, Noel, are representing Canada for the Commonwealth coffees.
Well,
how do you feel? How are you
me.
today? And obviously, I presume the WPG on your shirt is Winnipeg Strong.
Winnipeg Strong. That's actually one of our big races here in Winnipeg. That's their logo, is Winnipeg Strong. So
okay, gotcha. And obviously, people are seeing lots of things in the background. So we'll get this out the way straight away, and that is the roadkill behind you.
Roadkill. That's actually, I'll do one of those. That's actually the Roadrunners, or the running club that I'm actually a member of here in Winnipeg. So
right, because I'm guessing roadkill in Canada has the same meaning as in UK, where it's a dead animal.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued.
If you take a look, you'll see there's actually a tire track here.
Oh wow! Yeah, I'm intrigued. I mean, obviously we don't want to disturb our viewers and whatever, but I've seen all sorts of wonderful stories, and I've seen some. You've probably seen some as well over in Canada as well. That it's a bit of a delicacy for some people, I gather.
I'm not one of those people.
I know you're not, but yeah. So it's fantastic having you on, and really, we haven't really spoken. For those who are watching this and thinking, oh, that me and Noel have known each other beforehand or whatever, literally in the same way I've done that intro, you just reached out with a random email and contact me via, I think you might have seen this on YouTube, and you said, or on social media, might be in Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I've reached out in all sorts of places, and we exchanged contact details, and here we are. So I don't really know anything about you. You might know more about me, and obviously my viewers know all about me, but this is more of a conversation. You know, we've got our drinks. Yeah, for me, this is the way.
Yes, sir.
And obviously for those watching, this is the way. Mandalorian. Yeah, it's one of my favorite shows.
And my sport is
yours is my sport. Is your sport's punishment? What's the story behind that mug? Because is there coffee in it?
Actually, I've now switched to tea. I've got black tea in here at this point. It was coffee earlier, but
do you know what I've got in here? Barry's tea, which one of my subscribers kindly sent them to me from Ireland, and apparently it's the best tea from Ireland, best tea in the world. But there you go. So,
so now I have to ask: is that like a black tea? Is that what kind of a tea?
I've put milk in it. It is a black tea. Yeah. So it is a black tea in a tea bag, so not loose leaf. And but for me, I like it with milk. So I've got milk in mine. But some people take it black. Sometimes I take black tea as well. So black tea as well. So. Yeah, it depends on the flavor and whatever. But yeah, for me, black tea. Are you a bit of a tea connoisseur, Noel?
Not. I like tea.
You like tea.
I like tea, and I like experimenting with different teas, different flavors, different kinds. But I have my nice plain Earl Grey right now, so I'm quite happy.
Oh wow! Yeah, I was going to say Earl Grey. I've got other ones. Although jasmine's more of a white type tea, but yeah, I do love some of those teas that you don't have to add anything to it. You just drink it as is.
We have a company that we get from every now and then called Sipology, and they actually have different flavored teas. So the nice thing about that is you get to, you know, they have peach teas and peppermint teas and everything like that. So it's kind of nice to dabble and try different things.
So flavored tea, a bit like flavored beer, is that really taken away from the leaves? This is all very random. You see, this is the conversation. I have no scripts here. This is my script for those who are watching. Yeah, because it's a conversation.
I think a true tea connoisseur would probably be absolutely appalled.
Yeah.
But I like to dabble.
Yeah. I mean, there was this thing, again, I don't want to be a doctor, professor, but we used to see lots of things. I don't know how, well, I do know a bit about what was going on with the pandemic in Canada, because I have friends out there and so on, and obviously it's very different. But I'd heard that there was a certain type of tea, and obviously we hear these things, that certain teas are good for our immune system. Is there any truth in that? Is it true, or is it just the fact that we're drinking something that we like, we feel good, and because we feel good, that boosts our immune system? What do you think, Noel? Have you got any views on that?
I know that they do. They sell immune strengthening teas. I know that. But I think it is the latter of what you said. I think when we do stuff that makes us happy, it builds those toxins in us, and it builds that interior. I don't know what the right word is, but if you're happier, you're healthier.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, you know, the reason that we initially I reached out to you, kind of a slight segue that goes to running. You don't have to be an elite runner, but if it's making you happy, it's making you healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mindset is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So if tea makes you happy,
absolutely. And it's the same with coffee. I mean, you know, Mark Wynn, the author of the book 50 Coffees, he enjoys his coffee. That makes him happy. And by the way, Noel, we can segue as much as we want. You know, this is just between you and me. Nobody's watching this live. I might do one live. I mean, I'm just thinking on the fly where I won't say the idea, but we could do one, a sort of special one. And really, I should have the book to hand, which is what all this is about. So as I reach out, thankfully, everything is relatively close. So I can show you the book. There it is, 50 Coffees. And for those watching, anybody can join in and have a go. You don't have to buy the book. But obviously, I mean, I can't remember how much I paid for this. It was about $8, I think. So it's not much, but it's very much more of a how to do it. Because for a lot of people, the art of conversation and talking and reaching out with people, and the reason why I'm sort of taking this on is I think we became a bit detached from people, and you know, we were being locked down, we were being forced. Sorry, I don't want to sound extreme, but yeah, some of the things that was going on in the UK, and I'm sure Canada was no different. We effectively had to stay at home for many weeks, months, whilst we were allowed out once a day to do our little 1 hour exercise or whatever it was, or things like that. I know some people didn't follow that to the letter, but just that thing was stopping us. So for me, the 50 Coffees, and I wouldn't be speaking to you now, Noel, and would have met you. Whilst you may have been a subscriber watching, we wouldn't be here, would we, if it wasn't for that book? So anyone can join in.
I unfortunately think it's actually gone past, and it's an unfortunate where society is gone. It has unfortunately a lot less to do with the lockdowns over the last 2 years. It has more to do with we have become such an electronically driven society that it is so much easier to pick up that. And
I was just about to grab mine as well. Here we go.
And text somebody.
Yeah.
And a text can be so misleading.
Yeah.
We all tend to do it, whether we say we don't or not. We all tend to do it. We read inflection into a text that may not be there. So you're losing that personal contact.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've lost the art of picking up the phone and saying, "Hi, Mom, how you doing?" You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or phoning your friend who might be struggling, giving a call and saying, "Hey, just want to see how you're doing today." We don't do that.
Yeah.
We pick that up and send a text. How you doing today?
Yeah.
We've lost that art form. So that's where you doing something like this is hopefully maybe with some people going to rekindle that and make people go, you know what? That's what maybe we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be virtually. It can be virtually. We're still seeing each other and we're still talking.
That's right.
It doesn't mean you have to be in the same room.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think what you're doing is very, very, very cool and very important.
Absolutely, that's very kind of you. But obviously, it wasn't my idea. I'm just following on from Mark's idea. But I do enjoy, even before this, as you've probably seen from my running. We'll talk about running. We obviously we don't want to bore the non-runners here who it won't be just about running, but we'll talk about life, universe, and everything. Of which the answer is 42 for those who watched the Hitchhiker's Guide. But you've hit the nail on the head there, Noel. I think. The art of conversation or just speaking. It's interesting to say that how people can misunderstand the text. Sometimes showing the time there. See, it's 16:46. Why is that thing flashing? I don't know. But anyway, there was something flashing there. It might be from the UFO flying by here at the moment. But no, is text messaging. When Twitter started, it was 142 characters, which was the size of a text message. The old QWERTY text. What is it? I can't remember. It had a code for it, but obviously now messages can be really long and it's not abbreviated, in short text form. And I think a lot of social media gets a rap for being negative or bad or whatever, but a tweet, obviously it's longer than 142 now. I think it's twice that length, so you can do a bit more. But when it's short, abbreviated words, it can often be misleading and it stokes. And I've done it myself, not knowingly, but unknowingly. Some people misread what I've read. And I appreciate some people can deliberately misread what you write or interpret it in the way they want. That's the world we live in. But when I explain how I meant it, is, a lot of people can misunderstand things and misconstrue, and then it causes a bit more of an issue. But whereas, as you say, by here talking, the same way, whether it's virtual or real, obviously we all prefer real life. I prefer real people, but obviously I'm not in Winnipeg at the moment, but who knows, I may come over to Winnipeg. I've been to many provinces in Canada. I didn't call them states because they're provinces. I do know that. And maybe we can talk more about Canada, because obviously this is about Canada. I have traveled to, I'm trying to think of all the places I've been to. So Toronto, I've been to. But many moons ago, back in the 90s, I did fly over to Vancouver, which is British Columbia, and spent some time in Vancouver, and then randomly flew to Calgary because I had some friends who'd immigrated to near Calgary and stayed there a while. And then I caught the Rocky Mountaineer from Jasper all the way across back to BC. I think it was called Prince Rupert. And got on an Alaskan ferry, which is quite an experience, from that part in BC all the way up to Juneau in Alaska, which is about 2 days on a ferry. So I had traveled around those provinces, which was obviously British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario. And I know that you guys are in Manitoba, which is a different province, and all the different time zones. And it's a beautiful country. I mean, I love... everyone says that Canadians are very polite. Is that true? More polite. It's funny when I say that to Canadians, they always have that response. But as an outsider, I think compared to certain other, because people tend to tar us with the same brush. So in the UK, English, Irish, Welsh, whatever. When you go abroad, you're UK, and we get banded together. My guess it's the same with Canada. Oh, you're North American, you must be Americans, and you're all brash and this. Very different to US.
There is definitely a polar opposite to the perception, and I will say to the way that Canadians are, and I'm not. I've got nothing negative to say about anybody. That's just the type of person I am. But there is definitely a polar opposite between Canadians and Americans with a lot of that.
Yeah.
As for us, Winnipeg, our license plates, everything says Friendly Manitoba.
Friendly Manitoba.
That's what we're called, Friendly Manitoba. You see people do. I find you do see people look out for each other quite a bit, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't need to. And I know this is I think this is more of a runner thing than anything else. But I know when I'm going for my run, somebody's coming towards me, running, walking, whatever. I'm always, hi, hey.
Yeah.
You know, you give the friendly wave.
Yeah.
This is the way it is. You know.
And they hi back, do they?
For the most part.
Yeah, yeah.
Every
I was going to say
you get the odd person going, I don't know you. Why are you waving at me? But for the most part, yeah. I mean, it's what you do. It's what you do. You see somebody, hey, how's it going? You know, you're not wanting to strike up a conversation. It's just greeting.
There's no costs to being friendly, is there?
Exactly.
So for me, when you mentioned Winnipeg, Manitoba, I do like my NHL. And immediately I thought of the Winnipeg Jets, and having watched, there was one of these Amazon series. I think it was about the Maple Leafs, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and obviously it was during lockdown, so all the games they had to play many times just the Canadian teams.
Yep.
So you'd have the Jets and Maple Leafs. You had the Canucks, Vancouver Canucks. You had the Calgary Flames, the Edmonton Oilers. It's, you know, all these amazing teams. And obviously, I really shouldn't forget the Montreal Canadiens, you know, with the on that side. So the Jets do get, I mean, are you an NHL man? Do you go and watch NHL games? Or is it something, you know, when people talk about Canadians and winter sports, it's almost like with Australians, it's all about the beach. Is Canadian sport all about the ice, you know, the ice hockey, the curling, and the figure skating and skiing? I mean, some of the great skiers and snowboarders are from Canada. I mean, you've got.
But the thing is that there's such a people think if you're Canadian, you must be into hockey.
Yeah. Well, it's the same here at soccer or in football. Yeah.
But you know, I enjoy watching it every now and then. I'm not a huge fan. Or not a fanatic, I should say. I enjoy it because I enjoy sports. So you know, I like watching. When I watch the Olympics, I like to dabble in watching a little bit of everything. But it's funny, the thing with the Jets, and they actually did this poll years ago, and with the Winnipeg Jets, through this poll, they had a survey of people, aside from their home team, what their favorite team in the league was. And number one on that list was the Winnipeg Jets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a reason? Is there a reason why that is?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think what some of it has to do with the fact is Winnipeg has had some great players that were iconic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the one that everybody loved, Dale Hawerchuk. You know, just an iconic player. He may not have been Gretzky.
Yeah,
but he was an iconic player because he was also a humanitarian. He was a good person.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what you see a lot of in Winnipeg is you get a lot of these players who really get involved in the community. And that just makes a huge difference. You know? Huge difference. Like I'm a CFL fan, Canadian Football League. That's my thing. I like my
CFL. What's that? Sorry.
Canadian Football League.
Oh, as in American football style, but not soccer. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Canada's quite good at soccer as well. You know, they've qualified for the World Cup a few times.
They're getting better. Better. We're seeing some strides there, which is nice to see. You know, actually starting to make a little bit of a dent in the world map. Maybe not right up there yet, but you're seeing progress, which is great.
It's interesting with as part of this 50 coffee challenge. I mean, for me, with the Commonwealth connection, that from Commonwealth countries or people who live there, from their parents, whatever, or maybe you like the food from that country, and any connection. What do you think? Because obviously you enjoy your sports, Noel, and you take part, you do your running. What do you think connects us as as people or as a society? What brings us together? I mean, Commonwealth is, it can be seen as positive or negative, and again, I don't want to get into the politics of it. I'll keep on the positive side, but there's always people who want to throw the negative sides of it. It used to be part of the British Empire and all that type of stuff, but there's clearly a connection there. What do you think connects us as people? The Commonwealth, and what brings us together? What brought you? What made you want to reach out to me?
That's a good question.
Is there a good answer? There's no right answer, but there's going to be a good answer.
But you know what? I there's no one answer. I think what brings us all together, and I'm going to sound, it's just the type of person I am. I think what brings us all together and what binds us all is love. Love for fellow human, love for community, compassion, and I think that's just me. That's the way I tend to be. I've always been a very positive person. At least I try to be.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I look at it. What made me reach out to you when I saw what you were doing was, this was cool. You're helping, and I'll watch my wording a little bit here. You're helping bring back a lost art form, connection, love for your human being, and I think that is what connects us all.
Absolutely. In the words of, was it Madonna? Love makes the world go round. I won't try and sing it, but I think it was along the lines of "Love makes the world go round." Do. There you go. Everything's got the same tunes, and I'm being very. I suddenly realised what your background is, and maybe you can sing it a lot better for me.
I was actually never. I'm an '80s child, but I was never a Madonna fan. I will admit that. Unfortunately.
You see, a bit of randomness for you. I do love my traveling, and I think I've traveled to over 30 odd countries, whatever, around the world. I vividly remember one of my cousins, obviously my parent family heritage is in Italy, and picture this, Venice, canals, gondolas. I'm traveling around the country with one of my brothers and a cousin of mine, and we're going to go on a gondola. So my cousin pipes up, because the gondolier says, "Where do you want to go?" And we say, "Oh, any canal, mate. We just want to be on a gondola." So we bartered, as you do in Italy. You got a barter price. And he said, "Take me to the canal where Madonna filmed the song." And so he did, and it was a proper rundown backstreet. But that's the joy of filming media. You can make things look really good, and obviously the random connection there is it is Commonwealth related, Venice, because here's a random statistic, is that, and I'm sure those from that city are probably bored of hearing this, but Birmingham, which is the host city for the Commonwealth, has more canals than Venice. Again, the question though is the quality of these canals. But hey, we did see a different quality canal in Venice that day, and Madonna. So there's a bit of randomness for it. But no, your background, Noel, as well as being a runner, you briefly mentioned that you've been. Do you still do this? What's your background career? What have you had a career in?
I've actually spent the last 25, 30 years of my life as a professional singer. I was a country singer, a local country singer for a lot of years until the lockdown. And lockdown shut everything down, and I think that's pretty much put me into retirement as far as the professional singing is concerned. But yeah, I spent a
proper singer. So there was me, as I say, doing my Madonna 80s, whatever. But that's quite.
But I think that's something else that binds us is music.
Yeah. Music is, when you listen to lyrics, and in particular, I mean, I'm not just saying this because you've said that the type, country music, and there's certain types of genre, which it's what though the artist singing it or the writer has actually been through, and you can feel it, you can hear it, and
but it's funny how we can all interpret it different sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
funny.
Here I am dressed as a priest or vicar, and the Bible can be misread in different ways. Yeah, so and whether you're religious or not, is everyone looks at things in a different way. I know Adele. I don't know how popular Adele is in Canada.
Love Adele.
Sorry.
I absolutely love Adele.
Yeah, I mean, if you like your running,
pleasures.
If you're ever going to run a marathon in Britain, if you like Adele, do Brighton Marathon, because you run past her house at Brighton.
Oh, really?
I don't know whether she still lives there. One of my random things on my video when I'm running by, I says, "Oh, look, there's Adele's house," because someone did mention that to me, and that's how I picked it up. I'm not an Adele fan, but I do love her music, and she does some great songs. But some of them, you listen to the lyrics, and the way that she sings, a beautiful voice, and the heart is really in it. And I guess, when people have and that's why music, I think, connects people, and it has such a feeling to it. And same as sports is, often the fine line between being a successful sports person, I guess it's the same with being a successful singer, is that fine line of loving it, enjoying it, and doing it for the right reasons, really. Yeah. But let's get on to the running. How long have you been running?
Oh, boy.
6 weeks.
give or take a week.
Oh, right, yes.
Well, see, you
got to bought all the gear straight in,
Yeah, well, you see, what happened was you had posted, I believe where I first saw you doing this was on Facebook, Runners Over 50 Facebook group is where I first saw you doing this.
Yeah.
And I thought this was really, really cool. So I went out, bought some runners and started running, and then reached out to you. No, just kidding. I used to be a runner back when I was younger, as a lot of us were. I absolutely loved running, highly competitive. And we're talking about when I was 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Everything from track to cross country. But then I went through some rough times.
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah.
And started making, honestly, a couple of bad decisions, life decisions, and everything else. But nothing, life altering. Just in terms of started smoking, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then back in 2017, and if this gets long-winded, just
no, you carry. No. This is the biggest thing. Most people think that they've been talking for hours and hours, and it's literally just been like 2 minutes, and they think they've been talking for like half an hour. But continue, Noel. Continue.
So, in June of 2017, I was smoking a pack a day. I was in the worst shape of my life, and I ended up in cardiac emerge. And I was laying in the hospital. Tubes or wires everywhere, hooked up, electrodes, everything else, and it scared the poop out of me. And wow. I was laying in the hospital going, I don't want to die. I have some young kids. I have an older son as well, but I wanted to see my kids grow up. It scared me. So I was in the hospital. And I said, you know what? This was June of 2017. And I said, you know what? June of 2018, we have one of our biggest races here is the Manitoba Marathon. It's Father's Day every year. It's our big race.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? That's it. I'm leaving. When I leave this hospital, I'm quitting smoking. And I'm going to train, and I'm going to run the Manitoba. I'm going to run the half marathon at the Manitoba Marathon. It's 1 year. And everybody's like, well, that's what you say you're going to do. That's what you're going to do. I'm going to do it. And then, of course, me being the way I am sometimes, I said, yeah, and I'm going to do it in under 2 hours. That's it. I'm doing it. And the good news is we are talking, 5 years later now, and I still haven't touched a cigarette. And in June of 2018, I ran that half marathon. I completed it but I didn't make the 2 hours. But I stuck to my guns. I did what I said I was going to do. I ended up running it in 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 18 seconds.
Wow.
It's funny how to remember some of those things, right?
Yeah.
And that was it. That was the start of my main journey. And then I started getting into a lot of the road racing here. You know, the 5Ks, the 10Ks, half marathon.
Yeah.
I'm not a marathon runner. I had that stuck in my head for a while there, that to be a runner you had to do marathons.
Mm-hmm.
I had that stuck in my head, and I think that thought process kind of beat me down a little bit. And then I finally woke up one day and said, no, you know, is there something that says that Sebastian Coe is a runner, but Usain Bolt isn't?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the distance you do. You're a runner.
Absolutely. It's fascinating. I mean, that is quite a story there, where I've heard these stories many times, where people have a life-changing event. You know, as you say, being in hospital with cardiac arrest is pretty life-changing. But you're here. I mean, you look in great shape. You wouldn't know that you're over 50 at all. I couldn't tell that. Unless you've got a filter on your lens or something, and making yourself looking like some young guy, young healthy guy. But that is quite incredible how you've transformed your life from, as I say, smoking quite heavily, and having had a cardiac arrest, and here you are running. And it's interesting also that you say to be a runner, you have to do a marathon. I see so many people fall into that as well. And whilst, I mean, I ended up in hospital with cardiac issues, purely for my half marathon. I thought I was fit and healthy and training, and literally 3 weeks out, I ended up getting rushed into hospital. It turned out it wasn't a heart attack, but when I called my doctor, she said, you need to get to A&E, which is accident and emergency. You need to get there now. So I did, and they done the tests, and they said, oh, it looks like suspect heart attack, blah blah, which is frightening, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So was it just overtraining, or?
I don't know. I think it was just one of these things. I mean, without getting into too much boring details, there's a family history, so I'm at a high risk. I'm on a high risk register, so they had to check for whatever reasons. But for yourself, when you said you're there, you mentioned your children. What driven you? Was there one thing or many things that driven you? Because running that time in a half marathon is not to be sneezed at. I know some people want to run under 2 hours, and people run in whatever times, but it's different for different people. It's not the time that you finish. It's a case of finishing it. Because 13.1 miles or 21.1 kilometers for a half marathon is a long way. And, only yesterday I was posting on one of the social media where I'd won an award at the Cambridge Half Marathon, and it rated me 14th in the UK for my age. But I still remember the day when I first stepped out my front door and ran. I didn't even get to the end of the street and ended up on a park bench, panting, wheezing. And the thought of having to run a mile terrified me. And yet I knew I had to train for 13.1 of them. So I couldn't even think of that. And I messaged my friend and I said, look, I can't do it. I was raising to raise money for charity. I said, I can't do this. But he knew that I could walk. So I've walked long distances, but there's something in our brains about running and going at a certain speed. And I just thought, I can't do it. and yet here I am, similar to yourself. I mean, it was a little before I started. I think it's 2016 I started, or was it 15? I can't remember. Mid 50s. Fast forward, you know, now you've stopped smoking. You're super fit. Yeah, you look in great shape.
I still got a ways to go.
Do you still run half marathons, or are you doing marathons, or are you focusing on shorter distances? What's your?
I prefer 5K, 10K.
Yeah,
is what I prefer. I still do halves. I've now got my half marathon down to 1:47.
Yeah.
Which I'm ecstatic.
Wow.
My big thing right now is more. I enjoy more the 5K of the 10K. So I have my goals for this year, and I'm still trying to drop that time. I honestly feel that I can still, and that's for nobody but for me. You know, I will admit that I am competitive. I like racing.
Yeah.
I enjoy racing. But I am also more of a, when I step onto a course and I'm racing, that race is more with myself.
Right.
I like that competitive aspect, but the race is more within. You know, the race is getting personal bests.
Right. Got you.
So I've actually just recently, I've now got myself under 23 for my 5K.
Wow.
I'm shooting for 22 this year.
I
actually just received I just got a new coach. So there's actually a slight connection there, coach-wise. My coach, Mr. Robert Elchuk, he is actually a elite level UK coach.
Okay.
He is actually from Winnipeg, moved to the UK, and was training a lot of the Great Britain Paralympians.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And he's actually just recently moved back to Winnipeg, and we reconnected because we knew each other from when I ran when I was younger. And he's actually now my coach.
Wow, small world, and how, which is going back to how we stay connected. I don't know if you can hear something in the background. It's only very slight, Noel. Can you hear something in the background?
No.
All right, it's probably just at my end then. So I'm hearing a little background into it. Sometimes it comes from a mobile phone. I mean, I've just switched mine to airplane mode if the signal was interfering, but it's probably something else. But anyway, hopefully this isn't. If you can't hear it, then hopefully it's not interfering with the recording. But that's quite amazing that those times. I mean, when you're running those times on a half marathon, it just goes to show, and also 23 minutes, 24 minutes, whatever time those, it shows you're putting in the training. You know, you're not just turning up and running around. I mean, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the shorter ones or the long distances? What do you prefer, or are they just different challenges for you? What do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy the heart in mouth 5K where you're gasping for air and going as fast as you can, or the more controlled, steady pace, still pushing, but say half marathon?
You know, I think that one's actually a tough one. I'm going to give the political answer here on that one, because I think there's so many benefits to both of them. You know.
Yeah.
I love getting out there and the speed and of a 5K, and of you know, trying to get yourself locked in and stay there. And I love that. I love that adrenaline. But there is something about a half marathon of grinding it out, gutting it out. You know, and telling yourself, you know, one more step. You know, there's so many benefits to both of them. I'm actually this year thinking of attempting a couple of track events this year as well too, and trying to go in just for something different. You know, to expand, see maybe do some, you know, 1,500 or 3,000. on the track this year as well. So,
well, you can bring back.
I enjoyed running.
If that's what you enjoyed when you were at, at school, bring that back. And I'm guessing similar to the UK, we have what we call masters level, which is 35 and over. And I know some of the top masters athletes are Canadians, and at marathon level and different distances. I mean, I did have Alistair from Scotland, who's the current world record holder for the over 60s. At 10K and 5K. I think he ran a 3K track world record literally a couple of weeks before we done this conversation as a coffee challenge. But I don't know if you saw that interview with him. I think he's a member of the same group on social media, but an amazing guy. But he's been running a lifetime. He, similar to you, he did stop. I think as for a lot of people, life happens and whatever happens. Whilst he did stop, he did restart when his children were of an age, and I think he talks about competing with his son. So although obviously his son now is in his mid-30s, so runs quicker than him. So but obviously there's a point where he's at world-class level at his age, and then his son's slowly catching up, and he's getting slower. As we get older, we get slower, and then there's that passing point. But yeah, I think only the other weekend, I think he ran a crazy 5K parkrun time, which would anyone of any age would be really proud of. But I think that was a new record as well. But we can set records every day, can't we? Just by getting up and going.
You know what? The way I look at it is any day that I can get up and I can lace up my shoes is a good day.
Yeah.
And even if that is going for a walk. I think one of the things that absolutely drives me crazy, just absolutely crazy, when you're asking me, do I prefer 5K or 10K half marathon? One thing that just drives me absolutely bonkers is talking to somebody, and it's not quite often. I'm not sure about there, but quite often here we have events where marathon weekend. There's a marathon, there's a half marathon, there's a 10K, and there's a 5K, where they'll actually have all of them. On the same day. And somebody coming up to me, and I've gotten upset about it so many times, saying, I'm just running the 5K. It's like, what do you mean you're just running the 5K?
I know.
Don't diminish what you're doing. You're getting out there. You're putting one foot in front of the other. There is nothing that makes what I am doing more important. There's nothing that's saying that you're doing is more important. What this person is, we're all out there achieving the same thing. That if I could change one mindset from people, is I'm just doing the 5K. No, you're not just. You
know what? I picked up on one of those. Someone tweeted that, and I reposted it, saying that I hear this so often. And she was saying exactly what you've said, is that why do people say I'm just doing, they said it's 3.1 miles. So they're keeping it in whatever imperial distances, but it's the same, 5K. But people forget, as I go back to me, the thought of running a mile terrified me. I can walk it, and I've walked many miles. I mean, I've walked around various islands and, 40 miles, whatever. It's hard work. You're on your feet for like over 12 hours walking. But there's something about, and as I say, people's mindset where they say only this or only that. There's nothing only. And you mentioned Seb Coe. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to meet Seb Coe. And when I asked him, are you going to run another marathon? He said, no, never. There's nothing for him to prove. Whilst he was winning Olympic gold medals at 800 meters and 1500 meters, he did run the London Marathon once for a charity. But no, it's just, for him, he's I can't remember what age he's at. He's around somewhere in his 60s, but running a marathon, he's got nothing to prove. But and the same when you see, you know, I met Joan Benoit. She was the first lady, I think, who won the marathon Olympics lady, and she's won Boston a number of times. She's still running marathons in her 60s, you know, and that's quite rare for elite athletes to still running marathons competitively.
I think when you get to that point, it's I understand they ran at such a high caliber and such a high level for so many years, and it was always like, I gotta be out there and I gotta do this and I gotta do that, and then that mindset gets stuck in their head. That when they get older, that I'm gonna do it. It kind of gets lost. That I'm just gonna run because I love to run. I enjoy going to races aside from the competition aspect of it. I love going to races and just being a part of that community. You know, and there are so many people that I see at races. Now, I unfortunately haven't done a live race in 2 years, which I'm hoping is going to change this summer. But there's so many people that when I went to races, that's the only time I saw them. So it was that, hey, Bob, how you doing?
The social side.
You got that social, okay, I'll talk to you after the race over a banana, you know? And so there's just that connection, And I think so many elite athletes they lose that because they're so pushed that you have to win. And so they lose that. Just do it because you love it. You know? Obviously, they loved it to do it. Obviously, but let's face reality. Sometimes we put our bodies through a lot of misery to get there. And there are some days where I'm sure, and we all do it. We all have those days where it's like, that hurt. Why did I do that? But then you get up the next day and you go, what's on today's menu? You know?
Absolutely. It's funny that I actually talked about this on my weekly update with Manchester Marathon coming up in, well, it's less than 2 weeks now. And I said, just be, just be and just enjoy, just be in the moment, enjoy this. There's a lot of people who talk about certain things happening at certain points in training. And I think there's a lot of marketing BS out there where people are trying to productize it, and they play on our fears and anxieties, which we all have, and they try and compartmentalize, which adds to those other fears. But as an aside, when you mentioned about an event weekend or a marathon weekend, and you've got, as well as the marathon, you've got half marathon, 10K, 5K. I remember someone mentioning about the Luxor marathon, Luxor in Egypt, and I've been to Luxor. And it's hot. It's Egypt. I think when I landed there, I thought the heat was coming from the jet engine, that plane I got off. And they said, no, that is the temperature here. And I went, and it was like 42 Celsius, 44 Celsius. It was hot.
Wow.
So for me, running a marathon in Luxor doesn't really appeal to me. However, I did say to the person, I said, I'd love to go back to Luxor, but is there any shorter distances? And thankfully, they said, yes, there's 5K, 10K and half marathon on the same day. So I thought, right, I might head out there to Egypt and do a shorter one or whatever. But I know some people do it for whatever, the challenge and stuff. But for me, if I'm not enjoying it, I guess, is it the same for you? If you're not enjoying it, enjoying the process, I always say, what's the point of doing it? For me, it's a hobby. As much as I'd like people to sponsor me and give me money and pay me to run and all that kind of stuff, the thing that's kept me going, like with the YouTube, I'm not classed as an influencer. Obviously, we all have influence on people, but technically, I don't have enough subscribers for brands to classify me as an influencer. The fact that I do influence thousands and thousands of people to take up various races, events, products, services, just by me talking about it, like tea or whatever, that's why people send me tea. But I do it because if I was doing it for the money and for the glory, I would have finished years ago. I just enjoy connecting with people like yourself and other people. And there's a lot of people, and as you say, when you go to events, and I think that's the appeal with parkrun, that I'm not far from a local parkrun here, and people go there every week, whether it be to volunteer or to run. And whilst some people run, some people just go there to take part. They don't go there to get a personal best or PR. They just go there to just run, join in, and as you say, you see the same people each week, and then they all go for their tea and cake or coffee and cake afterwards. And it's a social aspect. Or some of them run around together with their friend and chat while they're running around, in their 20, 25, 30 minutes or whatever. As you might have seen from one of my videos where I was chatting with a guy. I think we were running a 20-minute park run, and we were chatting as we go along. So, we're catching up on stuff. So there's more to the running than just the running. But as you say, as a hobby, if I get to a point, I hope not, and it's similar to you, if I get up and put on some shoes and go for a run, that's a happy day. But there's days when I may not run or whatever because it's a rest day or whatever. But if I'm not enjoying it, there's plenty of other hobbies we can do. We could take up karaoke singing. Obviously you're a professional singer. You can do it as a hobby. You turn down here in the UK, local pubs and clubs, and just they give you an open mic and just sing Madonna or whatever is up on the karaoke, and totally clear the floor.
How did we go back to Madonna here?
I don't know. I'm just using that song because we're living in a material world. I saw someone post that yesterday on Instagram, and she's a marathon runner, a really good runner, and for some reason the theme song on her Instagram was Madonna in a material world, which is a classic 80s song, because we are living in a material world. So sometimes things don't change, but especially with sneakers that cost $300, my God, that was the thing that we do. But you mentioned briefly in terms of goals, and we'll sort of wrap up the conversation, so to speak. But we can always do this another time and do some more, as we say, Noel. But what goals, aspirations, and things you got going forward? I mean, you do have other hobbies. I mean, in terms of the running, and now you have a coach. That sounds very serious when you employing a coach. Is there anything that you're aiming for? You mentioned about going on track. Are you going to take part in masters races and maybe represent Canada?
My one of my goals this year, other than I have a couple of time goals I want to reach. I want to try and get as close to 22-minute 5K as I possibly can. I want to knock my 10K goal down. One of my ones that's stuck in my head right now, and I can't get it out, is I want to run it in the Canadian Masters Outdoor Track Championships at the end of July, beginning of August.
Yeah.
So that's one of them that's really kind of sticking with me right now.
Yeah.
I think my main goal and my main purpose is I just want to be out there and continue to love running.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that you said that's kind of important is, like you said, you need to enjoy what you're doing, and sometimes we lose track of those rest days, and sometimes we need to take those rest days and go, okay, you know what, this is what I'm doing today, and I'm gonna sit and I am going to binge watch a TV show for today.
Yeah.
Because I need to reset the brain.
Yeah.
So my main goal is just to keep enjoying and keep putting just one foot in front of the other, and if I can drag one or two people along the way with me every now and then, it's a bonus. A couple of things I've done is I try and take my running to help people as well.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the lockdown, two quick stories. Beginning of the lockdown, when everybody here was just devastated and hurting mentally, I actually ran in my community. I ran for 30 days in a row in 30 different costumes on the streets, no matter what the weather was.
What the weather, yeah.
And just to try and cheer people up. And it got to the point where it was almost like I was a one-man parade. People would come out. You know, I would post on Facebook, here's where I'm running today, and people would actually come out.
Come out and go, hey!
Yeah, they'd come out, and they would all of a sudden it'd be like, I haven't talked to my neighbor, and all of a sudden they're talking to the neighbors again, and they gave people an excuse to get out of the house.
Yeah.
And then also for the last 2 years, I've done a 24-hour treadmill run in my driveway, raising food
so this
and
is
toys.
Outdoor in your driveway, yeah?
In November.
So not in the garage or parking lot, whatever they call it. It's
right outside.
In November, which, as I know, November, Canada, snow, wind, rain, ice, maybe.
You're really rolling the dice on it. You really are. So, and it was raising food and toys for what's called the Christmas Cheer Board here, which is for people who are struggling at Christmas time. And between the last 2 years, and my wife is actually here now, so she can actually yell over to me if I got the numbers wrong. Over the last 2 years, I think we have helped a total of 46 families, 47 families.
Wow, that's amazing.
Through doing that. So if we can take my love, match it up with something. So therefore my goal is to keep doing what I'm doing, keep helping people, and keep smiling.
Do you know what, Noel? I think we couldn't finish on a better way than that for this first conversation. As I said, we'll probably invite you back. We'll do all sorts of stuff, but it's been absolutely amazing speaking with you, Noel. What an inspiration. And this is what I love about this challenge is I don't know what to expect. I don't send any briefs out to anyone. I don't say you need any questions. No. I'm keeping it totally open. As I said, this is the script. Obviously, I knew your name, and that's one of the reasons why I type it at the bottom there, so I can see your name, because sometimes I tend to forget people's names. I never forget a face, but I tend to forget people's names. But that's why when it says Noel, Winnipeg, Canada, it's there. I can see that. Just be the same way people see my name. But I never know what to expect, and that's one of the beauties that I love about this and love talking. And I'm sure we're going to continue the conversation a little bit after when we go off air, so to speak. But it's been an absolute joy speaking with you, Noel. And as I say, I'm really grateful for you reaching out, giving the time, and being part of this 50 Commonwealth Coffee Challenge, or whatever it may call it. You know, as they say, this is the way. And my support is that it's been amazing. I hope those who have been watching and listening have enjoyed this in some way. You can leave comments, questions, or whatever down below in there, and who knows where this will take us, so to speak, because it's pretty amazing, and what you've overcome and how you've got to where you are now. It's just brilliant. It makes me feel really good, and I've really enjoyed talking to you, and that's why, whilst I might end the broadcast now, we're going to continue our little chat there, but waving bye-bye to everyone who's watching on the recording. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Noel, for your time.
Thank you very much, Donato, for your time. This has been an absolute pleasure.
It's been amazing. So I nearly said au revoir. I know you're not in the French-speaking region of Canada, but adieu, au revoir, goodbye, and buona notte.